Welcome to the Diesel Podcast presented by DFC Diesel. Kory, I'm looking forward to chatting with you today and connecting with you. You've had a real busy year. There's tons of great information that you post a lot of. There's so many things that you're working on, so much with tuning and everything. So I'm really kind of pumped today, see where the conversation goes and what you've been up to.
Yeah, man, it's been crazy. These past few years have been pretty wild, but this last one, different level. I mean, legal stuff, we've got all kinds of new tuning stuff and like we've developed tons of stuff that we can't legally release because of like this weaponized Biden era EPA. So, but we're still doing. That's the thing is like we're still developing, we're still doing R&D, but we're also fighting the hell out of this demon. So, it's a little
Yeah.
tiring.
Walk us through like what 2025 has been. I think like both things are going to be heavily involved, like the tuning side, but then also the the policy side and the political side of what you've been working on. Like how did things start, and then how they kind of progressed through the spring and the summer, and then where we're at now in the fall.
Yeah, I mean, so if we went back in a little bit of time, we worked with Clay Higgins back around like 2015, 2016, right when he started running for office. And I told him about the scenario I had going on, and it wasn't nearly as escalated as it was the past few years, but it was still pretty nasty. And, he started working on it pretty good there. And then, the 2020 election thing had happened, and we thought we had it resolved for the most part. Like it was pretty much there. And then, what happened in the election happened. And oh my God, the Biden era was epic, but everybody knows all kinds of crazy stuff that happened during that time. Fast forward, Trump gets elected. I meet with Clay right out the gate, and he's like, "Yeah, we're gonna go back in for it." But he said there's a lot of like a ton of people that's like not just EPA, but ATF, the medical industry. Like, there's doctors that have gotten like straight up like went to jail for stuff they didn't do wrong. There's tons of stuff that happened during that era. So he told me early on, like, we're going to have a oversight hearing if all things go as they're supposed to. And, I'd like for you to do it if you would. I was like, absolutely. So, that conversation was before I went to court, right? So I started December 17th, 24. I went to court, and, I could have got sent to prison for like 2 years, or well, the way things were going down in court, it could have been like 5 years, but it worked out in a good way. I went on home confinement, so I got sentenced to home confinement. Uh, the state of Louisiana is super, super great. I was still able to take care of work, handle my business, do what I need to do. But legit, like I had a schedule, like it can't be gone at night or nothing like that. No traveling, no nothing. So, did that. And then, all meanwhile too, while like new year models are coming out and PPEI is banging out all kinds of stuff, especially on the power sports side. And it's been a lot of stuff, and it's been a lot of stuff this year. It's been pretty crazy, and it's like all the seasons and days are like now it feels like it's just like one never-ending day. It's how it was, but yeah, I took in April the so here's a crazy scenario that I've started to speak about a little bit, but it ties into your question with what the years got going on. So like they've been basically trying to shut me down for years, right? And what happened was is they set up in my consent decree that I had to go through California. We had the conversations before of like, yeah, California is doing some weird stuff. I'm not getting approvals. Well, like what I know now, and I'm not saying that this is the reason, but sometime around whenever I had to start dealing with carb on all of this, and I passed all the tailpipe emissions at SEMA, like for carb, uh, carb was sent an email from the EPA that said that with a Seattle Times article that was talking about the leak tuners on EasyLink. Well, I was taken, and some of my products, I passed emissions testing with an EasyLink. All I'm saying is, ever since that happened, and they supposedly had a meeting, my stuff hasn't gotten approved. And fast forward to April of today, we've been fighting this for a while, but around the April time, we had dealt with this before. This crazy person at DOJ I've been dealing with 10 years. She was named on the oversight hearing. She actually said, "You're over your timeline of how long it takes to get CARB approvals, and we know this is going to be a hardship and burdensome on you and your company, but our position is not changing." So around April, that was happening again, and we went to the judge. So in April of this year, we went to the judge and we got a TRO injunction against them shutting me down over this consent decree. And that's still in play today. We would have had court in October, but the shutdowns stopped stuff. And that's been something that's been going on since April. And you talk about a hell of a fight. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So they full committed though. You know, that was if we wouldn't have fought back and, you know, sued over this thing, then we'd be shut down right now. So even though I went to court, like while I was on home confinement, we fought that thing.
Wow.
It's crazy.
So, so as part of the consent decree, I just want to make sure that I understand. You had to get CARB approval for your tuning, and then you do
Yeah.
that through SEMA Garage. But then something happens to where you're not getting the approvals, and then ultimately, because you didn't get the approvals in a certain amount of time, they want to basically shut PPI down or not allow you to sell any product because it took too long to get the approvals.
That's it. That's it. And thank God for, you know, an amazing, smart, great judge here in Louisiana. PPI is open, you know, and we're not getting shut down over that nonsense. Thank God. And but it's ironic right now that the Trump administration, the DOJ, are actually suing California over these certificates, but you know, that crazy person at DOJ, ENRD is still, and EPA is still requiring me to go through California when I don't sell there. So I think they need to fix that pretty quick. This is developing into a very interesting dilemma.
Hey, Diesel fans, we want to give a shout out to our friends over at Kershaw Knives. They have a 20% off code. So if you add some knives to your cart, add code 20 TDP 2026, you get 20% off of MSRP. It's a great way to save some money, get some cool gear if you're in the market for a new EDC knife, something for hunting, fishing, around the job site, around the house. They've got you covered with a bunch of different choices for blade steel, blade shape, different handle designs, different opening mechanisms, and their whole lineup's designed to meet any budget that you might have. So if you're in the market, head on over to Kershaw.kaiusa.com. Use code 20 TDP 2026 and get 20% off your cart. You talked about that with me once about not selling into California, yet it kind of being the standard for which emissions testing is done and how that's influencing the other 49 states, or maybe it's not 49, because I know a lot of other states kind of follow the CARB blueprint, but maybe it's 40 or 45 or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And how that is, how it can create an issue with, like, how do you verify or how do you show, I forget the phrase it's used, but how do you show that tuning or a turbo or other hard parts are still operating within the framework of however the truck was designed to perform for emission standards, and how that can be an issue.
Yeah. And you know, the thing is like it's almost like CARB, and I'm just speaking from my own thoughts, nothing factual, but it's almost like CARB and the DOJ or EPA pick winners and losers based on what they kind of got going on. You know, I'm not saying that's what happens, but why do some of the people that did the same thing, or like it worse than me in some cases, they can do 49 states and self-testing, you know what I mean? Or some people can go through SEMA Garage and get that certificate, and it was fine. Originally, they told me I couldn't use SEMA Garage because they didn't see their certificates basically as valid, and there was no record keeping that they could go pull all your stuff and look at it. SEMA Garage made it to where they fixed all that, and yet still they're holding me to this standard. It's crazy.
What was it like during the oversight hearings? I saw that on Facebook. You had posted it, and my first thought was like, that's like big time now. Like, you're going to be on TV. Like, it's going to be part of public record. Like, that's a chance to really tell your story to the people involved in our political process.
Yeah, and you know that was pretty surreal. I mean, when every attorney you have is telling you, do not do this. Like if you, and I'm like, well, why? They're like, if you, one wrong word, you say something unintentionally wrong, like you can go to prison. And I'm like, okay, so it's got one rule. Don't screw up. Got it. We're good. So no, that was super scary. My grandparents, it's my business. It's a family business. It's a bunch of family in here. But like my grandparents had actually gotten caught up in this nonsense as well, and you know, they actually were targeted for a while. They had to deal with this junk. So it was really cool to bring my grandparents, who are in their 80s, by the way, and my mom, and actually got to go up there and tell some of the story. Obviously, I still can't like tell everything like I'd like to tell it necessarily, but it was pretty cool. It was surreal to go up there and see those people you see on TV that as well, like make rules and do all this. And before it got started, I was with them for a little while too, and we were just kind of shooting the bucket. One of the guys that was there, one of the representatives, I can't remember his name sadly, but he said, "You've been dealing with this for 10 years." And I was like, yeah, but I mean, the last five's been like whole different level. And it was like, dude, this stuff drives people crazy. I said, I'm absolutely crazy by now, dude. But no, it was surreal, man. We did 50 hours roughly worth of prep work for that. And then in DC, my attorneys in DC, Aiken Gump, man, they were super awesome, and they really got it dialed in. And we went in for a 3-hour bloodbath, like some crazy stuff like you see on TV. So whenever, the Representative Lee with the upside down cross on the Democratic side, and she didn't even ask me. They didn't ask me no questions. They wouldn't make eye contact. The most exciting thing, besides being able to kind of tell the story, and then Justin Savage, we could discuss some of that of what he put forward. That's good law. That's good stuff. All that was super super worth it. But they used a picture of a 12 valve truck, saying that this is what the leak tuning causes, right? And it's a 12 valve truck, some Google image. We found the image on Google to confirm it was a 12 valve. So some low lying fruit they grabbed, and it had smoke coming out the top. And we were kind of chuckling about it. After it was all over, I went over to the people that were doing all of it. And I said, do y'all mind if I see that picture again? And the first lady was super young girl. She was super friendly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. She pulled it, and I was like, oh, okay. And as soon as the other chick that could tell, like, oh, this guy's doing something, she's like, no, don't speak to them. They like rushed them all out. But I told them right before they rushed out, I said, hey, like, to elevate y'all's conversations next time, I said, understand that truck doesn't have a computer in it that we tune. It's irrelevant. So we moved on. They were trying to make their point about smoke, but it's just so comical, man, how silly DC is. It's so silly. The whole thing's silly.
How would you explain it to like a truck enthusiast? Because they tune into different social media pages, different YouTube channels. They follow you. They might read articles, and so this year, like from that perspective, has been really confusing because you've had conversations from like Lee Zeldin and the EPA and the shift that's happened there, and then we're all trying to interpret what does it mean for truck parts or tuning, and I think sometimes there's confusion that
Yeah.
that truck owners have about what can you buy, what can't you buy, and I mean it confuses me. I mean, as well.
It's confusing.
Yeah.
I mean, we're confused too, and I think the manufacturers are also confused. But I'd posted, I think on Facebook, one of the social medias, I'd posted an email that we had received back from the EPA on the latest changes. And the big thing right now, nothing's changed in the sense that you could delete the DPF or CAD, EGR, etc. Like nothing in that realm has changed. I hope people understand that. I'm one of the ones that I do think it's going to change. I think it's going to change soon, but it hasn't changed yet. What has changed is basically the D-rate strategy, right? So like you don't put DEF in your truck and it does the countdown on the dash until it basically tells you pay your climate taxes or you can't move anymore. So they changed that strategy to where basically it doesn't derate in that fashion. There's still a derate system, but it's not going to screw you over as bad anymore. And I think that's just like a passive band-aid for the moment.
Yeah, that was something that was really huge that caught my attention was that because it
Yeah.
seemed like something tangible had changed for the first time that I can ever remember with these
Oh
systems.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's changing. It's changing rapidly. And like I know that if it were up to Trump, just from some of my friends, from what I've heard, if it's up to Trump, full bore basically allow the states to dictate their own air policies and have basically just the simple OG standard, right? But we've still got EPA and all the whole system, the whole bureaucracy to deal with. So, like Clay Higgins had introduced a bill that was to actually abolish the EPA and basically go back to your own state's Department of Environmental Quality, your own DEQ. Uh, but I think, and that would be, I'm down for that. I'd like to be able to go shake the hands with people that make laws around here instead of having to be a celebrity and get to DC. Like that would be great. But realistically, I think things kind of like that Diesel Liberation Act that the Wyoming senator had introduced, like that's I mean hard to pass, but it really probably wouldn't be that. It could possibly pass with this Congress, possibly, but I don't know. We'll have to see. That's what we need to push for, though. The biggest thing is um, these things are a scam. It's a scam. The emission system, the after treatment system is a scam, right? Because we can't look at just what the output is for its life prior to 120,000 miles, right? Diesels live way longer than that. We have to factor in the the cost of building this equipment, shipping, everything, and then the replacement cost afterwards. When we look at what it costs to manufacture this one, and then at this amount of miles, you got to replace it with this one, and all the shipping, everything's done. There's not a return on investment on this item unless the taxpayer is willing to spend the $6,000, every time it hits its age life, which is often. I mean, none of these issues are hidden. You don't have to look hard to find them. It's a problem for every single person that's owned a modern diesel long enough. So, I've heard some rumors realistically floating around that they were going to go around to like 2007 standards, which would basically be just CGR, no after treatment. But I've heard from multiple solid sources that they are 100% wanting to get rid of the after treatment systems. Will it happen? I don't know, but I think that's what everyone at the top wants to have happen. And like on the enforcement side of this, and I'm kind of jumping, but on the enforcement side of this, they've ramped the EPA part down a whole lot, but there's still people getting popped right now, left and right. That area out of the E&RD department is still peppering the department I was speaking of earlier, but I'm 100% confident that that department's going to have a shift, if not in the coming weeks, coming months. We'll see when the government opens up. But I am 100% confident it will not stay running in the fashion that it's running in right now. That thing has changes coming to it.
That emissions rollback is really interesting because I've read a lot of comments on some of our episodes that we've done, and that was a huge thing, was the emissions rollback. What is it rolling back to? How does that take place? And I know you're so familiar with this whole process. I thought it'd be great to ask you, like, what does that mean so that like I can understand it, someone listening can understand it. Because my perception was when people heard emissions rollback, they thought of a 5.9 Cummins. And
Yeah.
they thought of, there's a cat in the exhaust, there's an internal sort of EGR with the camshaft, and that's it. And they also had the impression that it took place already, and that's what we're dealing with right now.
Yeah.
And so we just get confused. But what does that actually mean?
It's more so going to address like the power plants and things along that nature, right? So for like the pickup trucks and whatnot, the cafe standards and whatnot being changed, that's really good, right? Manufacturers can move around, but the manufacturers are still pretty confined to these same standards right now. So it doesn't exactly address it doesn't address the gases as much that we're concerned about for the for automobile community than we would like for it to be. Right. Because the thing is like you still have this standard set. So he can roll it. And that's, I think, where a lot of manufacturers are right now with the administration, too. And I like where things are going, but it's a very confusing time. It's like, okay, we understand what that means, but it doesn't change the standards that are set. So, what would the new standard be if we're going to roll this back? What would we be rolling to? There's none of those things answered, and it puts everyone in a really bad position, especially a manufacturer, because if you're trying to plan ahead for, 2027, 2028, you need to get all your tooling and everything else together. And right now, nobody really knows what's going on. I've heard there's going to be announcements, not specific to the EPA, but that there'll be some announcements that'll benefit our community a lot that'll come directly from the White House before to come from EPA. But again, like, this is stuff I hear.
Yeah.
But a lot of stuff I hear is kind of come around. So I'm hoping things will stay going that way. But as of now, like, that didn't really benefit us much at the moment. But it's like there's so many pieces that have to come apart for the whole thing to fall. You know what I mean? But seeing that rescinded, that's freaking huge. That's massive. But there's still multiple layers that have to come down.
Okay. Are those emission standards, are they, my impression, and I don't know, but just what I think it is that in an entity or a department is the one that creates the changes, like 2027 or the stuff that happened in 2007. It's not necessarily Congress sits down and votes on it and it's signed by the president that they're changing the emission standards. It's more handled at the department level. Is that how it takes place, or I could be completely mistaken?
I mean, I need to put a tinfoil hat on real quick. But no, yes, in the world of theatrics, yeah, it all comes from EPA because the scientists got in. This is the new science, and the climate change thing's real, right? But realistically, a lot of these policies are set at a way higher standard. I mean, it sounds crazy, but like at the World Economic Forum and World Health Organization, and it's easy to see even with common sense, because if you look at Europe and a lot of the emissions laws and things they're always ahead of us generally a bit, and then we start to adapt a lot of these same things. But everyone's still answering up to the top to meet these climate goals. And so to meet these climate goals, the scientists, in my opinion, fabricate this with a lot of funding, and then the EPA puts it out, and everybody gets paid through multiple NGO organizations throughout the world for everything from just example, might not be, but from a DEF can to the rare earth materials necessary to put it together. It's wild.
Yeah, it's tough to understand when you're not, and most of us, I'm not heavily involved in the political process and understand the different entities and how it works, and we're not constitutional scholars, and so, but I think now more than ever we understand how it can impact our vehicles, specifically when maybe you do have a kind of a problem truck and it's past that basic warranty period, and you're spending the $6,000 to replace a DPF, and then you start to gain an interest, and you find like your social media pages and what you're saying, or you're finding YouTube videos, or you're hearing things in the news. It's tough to discern it all. But one of the huge things recently, and I just want to get your opinion on it, is you've been on this podcast, other podcasts, your social media. You've talked for a long time about what you've gone through and PPEI has gone through with tuning, the enforcement of it, that aspect. But then recently there was that huge news with Heavy D and what took place. And that was probably, besides, it was just, I guess it was shocking. And the information like that he's talked about, and I've seen you reposted a little bit, but like when you heard that and how, what took place, and maybe people who are listening to this podcast didn't hear it.
Right.
Like what happened, and then what was your impression of it? And how does it bring it all back to what you've been dealing with for 10 years?
I was super pissed. I know that. A lot of people just know Dave as just, the character Diesel Brothers or whatever, but like, man, that's a really good guy, right? I, I've known him for quite a few years now, before the shows and all that type of stuff, just with them messing with trucks and doing things right. And that dude's got he's got a beautiful, good family. He takes care of tons of people. He does deeds for people that no one's ever gonna hear about. Like, he's a good human being, period. And anyone around in his circle will tell you the same thing. Dude's a good human being. So, it wasn't, I don't want to see it happen to anybody, but that guy is not the guy for it to happen to. Screw the fame and show and everything else. Just as a human being, it didn't deserve that. And the way that, and I knew a little bit about the story, not a ton, but I knew enough to know that it was freaking bull crap. Like, they were screwing him over bad, and it's just a money grab. And so I figured when he went to jail, it was like, oh well, I guess he'll take and go in here, bail out, and they'll have it, they'll be able to make some good content about what's been going on to make sure this doesn't happen to anybody. And then, he can't get bail. That's crazy. He couldn't get bailed out. So the dude spent a few days in jail. And I know a lot of people were going to work. I hit every contact I had up. It was like, y'all, bad things are happening to this guy. And yeah, that it's basically an environmental group. It's very convenient for people to run with these laws that these scientists put out. You know what I mean? Whenever they tell you the Earth's it's getting hotter outside, and you go outside and it's 1 degree hotter, they're like, see, it's hot. They run with silly science like that, and it gives these organizations that money grab, like in the situation of Dave, where he got sued, was willing to take care of, the environmental issues that were at play, but he wasn't okay. To my understanding, he wasn't okay with the fact that the attorneys over there got to make up the fee and keep all the money. So, but the way that stuff happens is by a weaponized legal system from the government in the first place. So had these nonsense, not passed through Congress, regulations stated to be laws passed, this stuff wouldn't happen.
Yeah, it was definitely something that I watched his video that he did on YouTube talking about it, where he did a great job. So if anyone's
Yeah.
curious, find him on YouTube and listen to his 30 minutes or so, and he tells the whole story. But um, it's something that I think. I mean, like when you got into trucks back in the day and decided you want to tune, like you love trucks, you liked making them
Yeah.
perform better. You probably didn't think one day it would evolve to where you'd almost be kind of like a pseudo constitutional lawyer, expert in departmental
And
organizations and
dude,
policy.
and I'm not, people look to me like I don't ask for this. I'm not that guy. But I've put in this position, and if someone tells you you might go to prison for 15 years and $40 million, and they're going after everything, I mean, you can sink or swim or fight. And I mean, swimming ain't gonna do terribly much good, so you just gotta fight. But it's not. I'm the bulldog, I'm the face of it, but man, I've got a hell of a team behind me. So whenever it's time to get something done, which works out great because somebody deals with Kory and you're getting kind of or whatever ADHD guy, but there's another side that flips on too, and that other side's strong, and it takes my ADHD that's all over the place, and we can work as a team and actually get some stuff done with a lot of really, really good minds and powerful people that are equivalent to me and don't need sleep when sleep's not an option. And so, it's not. I never asked for that. I just want to make freaking trucks go fast, dude. I just want to go racing. I'm a pro driver at that. I want to play. I'm a
Right.
child at heart that thankfully I get to do what I love doing for a living. And I love doing it enough that I'm developing new stuff that I hope one day soon I can release. But if not, personally, I'm having fun doing it. I enjoy learning. I don't care if I can get to market first or not, right? Whenever I was a good bit younger, you go back 10 years ago and it was it was a really big deal. But to me now, it's I enjoy the whole process and learning it and getting it, just knowing more about what I'm working on more than anything. So thank God, I really, really, really love what I do, and I love my team. My employees are freaking everything. I don't even like to say employees, man. We're a team. It's the core team, but it's everybody. I'm just the bulldog willing to take a lick to go through the doors, but I do it with a team. But realistically, I mean, we just want to go racing, dude. We just want to make racing products. And if the government regulations change and our legal system and our legal thing works out to where I can offer all of those products to my customers, I would love it. There's nothing more that I would love than to save someone, $6,000+ every few years from their climate taxes. I'm being totally honest as someone that can only sell emissions present tuning. But the dilemma we're in right now, and a lot of people are in, we've got a lot of, I would have never thought emissions present tuning would be as big as it is. That's what has majorly surprised me. But there's a lot of people out there that straight up can't spend the money to delete their truck. They don't want to delete their truck, or they don't want to deal with any government, or there's some legal restrictions behind it. All of them, I think, end up going somewhere to delete their truck when it breaks. But in the initial thing, a lot of people don't care a whole lot about the whole shebang. They just want a little bit more power. They want to tow better, and they want to feel some pep in their step. So whenever we can deliver them a product that's generally, not that far off from what the deleted horsepower is, they're blown away, because you wouldn't expect that a truck get that much power. But I can say all these great and wonderful things about, how fantastic we've gotten emissions present tuning. But at the end of the day, I can't change the reality of that's a wear item underneath that truck, and it's going to cost you a lot of money someday. So to be someone to help people save money, and if we ever were able to legally get back in the game, all them big prices out there changing big time, I would drop the prices so freaking hard it's ridiculous, because this is a problem for people. People can't get to work. Now that I deal with emissions present customers all the time, I get, and we run a pretty solid diagnostic deal with tons of shops. I see this every day, and it's oh my God. And as I look at the screen and see that PPF pressure's through the moon and shouldn't be, it's kind of your emissions are stopped up. That sucks. Good luck. Go spend a bunch of money and fix it. But it's really not funny. You know what I mean? That guy could have been down. That's a normal middle class people that are screwed. This guy can't get to work. If he's got a pregnant wife and they got one vehicle, good luck. And that's the reality the government's put us in. So whenever I say I would love to get back in it for that purpose, it's not like I'm trying to be a rebel or stick it to the government. That's just the unfortunate reality that the government has put us in with these emission systems that are now aged.
Hey, diesel fans, I wanted to chat with you about diesel fuel. It's something we've talked about a lot on the podcast, and specifically ways that it can lead to a lot of costly repairs. And the main reason that we have these issues is a lack of lubricity. Our friends over at Hot Shot Secrets have developed a formula that boosts performance and then addresses this issue. So whether you have an old truck, new one, something anywhere in between, we all face this issue. Hot Shots EDT is a 6-in-1 formula. It cleans injectors, boosts cetane, and it has 4 times the lubricity as their leading competitor. So it's a great way to be able to stay ahead of the maintenance curve, avoid those costly repairs, and the best part is it does the work for you. So all you do is add it to your regular fuel up schedule, and it's doing all the heavy lifting. So you don't have to worry about some of those issues that just come with diesel fuel anytime we buy it from the pump. If you go to hotshotsecret.com, use code DieselPod20. It'll get you 20% off your order. We really appreciate the team and our friends over at Hot Shot Secret offering this discount code just for you guys. So if you're in the market, head on over to their website, use code DieselPod20, and get 20% off your order. Common question we get from you guys a lot is, hey, I need a diesel engine. I either, I can't wait this long to get one, or normal place I get stuff from it just takes too long, or they don't have the parts in it that I need. Maybe my truck's not stock, or I tow heavy with it. I don't want to go back with just a stock engine. DFC Diesel is a sponsor of the podcast. We worked with them, hand in hand on doing episodes, answering technical questions. They have a complete lineup of Cummins, Duramax, and Powerstroke remanufactured engines that are set to a standard of ISO 9001 2015 standards, which is a huge deal in the aftermarket. And there's certain levels of quality testing, validation that are required for that. So when you get one of those engines, the type of quality that's built behind it, with an industry-leading warranty that's really comprehensive. And the other thing with that is, sometimes the options that are out there, it's a basic OEM engine. You want a little bit more. You don't want to have the same failure again. So there's a bunch of different series of engines that they have, from Core, Street, tow haul, and also the Speed of Air series, which we've covered on the podcast before. There's a lot of really cool benefits to it. And if you have questions about that, reach out to them. If you don't know the type of engine that you're looking for, if you go to dfcdiesel.com, there's a ton of info there. You can send an email or you can reach out to them. Also, they're working with Speed of Air pistons, which it's the only piston that pays for itself. And there's a lot of really cool technology behind it. So you can add that into your build and be able to get better fuel economy, increase power, increase torque, and better engine life out of it. Some of the most common engine applications or series of engines that they have with that lead time, a lot of them are in stock or they have really short lead times. So you can check your favorite retailer or go to dfcdiesel.com, check them out, see what's in stock, see what you can get. If you have questions, maybe you want to do something that's outside of the normal series of engines, they have tons of choices for rods, cranks, pistons, valve train upgrades, tons of different things. So if you're in the market, definitely make sure and head on over and check them out. Two directions I want to go. One, I do want to get to a project that I saw you and Heavy D work on recently before all this with Ram. But before we get to that is when with these systems and the longevity, that's one of the huge questions that I see from people who are either they just got a truck and now they're starting to do the research or they're thinking about doing it. And you had mentioned with the diagnostics that you do with shops and all the information you see is have they gotten more reliable in your opinion from just a stock perspective? Do they last? Do you ever hear from a shop that's like, hey, I got a guy with 300,000 miles in here. It's all stock and now we're just having an issue at 300,000 miles. Or is it kind of clockwork once you get past that powertrain warranty or that vehicle warranty, that's when people are contacting you and saying, hey, do you know what's going on with this truck?
So it's kind of what I've learned at this point is a lot of times the emission systems didn't fail because they themselves sucked. Normally the air filter was stopped up pretty good for a long time and they've been running it like that and they don't even realize or care the regen stuff's happening more frequently. One of the most common is a boost leak. If you have if the engine situation isn't basically perfect all the time, and yeah, sure, it should throw a code and limit you and everything else, but a lot of times they just don't. It'll still run good enough that the thing will just keep filling up the DPF or having an issue with those such. Or, I see a lot of guys, they'll have a tube blow off, some crazy stuff like that, and you fill the DPF here. Something stupid. That I see fail the modern systems more than anything. Outside of that, the modern systems do pretty good until if they took care of the truck, you don't idle it too much. If you're towing with the truck and you can keep heat, it really goes down to the driver, right? The driver and the health of the system. If they maintenance the vehicle right, if they actually keep heat in the exhaust and they don't just drive it 20 minutes every day back and forth to where before the exhaust can even really heat up or complete regens. If someone uses the diesel truck like a diesel truck and doesn't baby it, believe it or not, they actually do pretty freaking good. But I'd say the sweet spot somewhere around 150,000 miles. 120 to 150,000 miles seems to be the sweet spot where these trucks roughly are whenever we're diagnosing them. Ironically, the manufacturer's considering it aged at 120,000 miles. So if the manufacturer can only guarantee this thing's basically not aged to 120,000 miles, then, I mean, it's not a lot of miles on a diesel before you got to pay a common tax.
Yeah. Yeah, some people can hit that pretty quick.
Yeah, and they're don't get me wrong, they're way better, they'll flow. The DPF's really not a big horsepower limiter for us as far as the flow goes, right? They do, until we get to talking 750 plus, et cetera, depending on turbo combinations. That's a whole nother rabbit trail. But from 2007 and a half through say 2015, those emission systems freaking suck, dude. They suck. I don't even offer the majority of it, but for that reason, it's nah, you're going to have a check engine life the second this thing sees, 20 more milligrams of fuel. But the newer ones do well. It's just you're not going to get rid of the unfortunate reality that engines don't stay in the perfect scenario all the time.
What was it like working with Ram on that I think it's a mega cab they have that
Yeah,
they're racing. That was cool.
that's dude, that was so cool. I got that phone call and it was like, holy crap, this will be freaking awesome, but I can't tune it. It's like, well, be around the engineers. You know what worked before, what works now. It's like, I don't know nothing about this thing, but we went out there and man, that was so fun. The Cummins engineers we were working with, some young guys, Derek, Mike, they were freaking awesome. And then they brought the Zeta engineers out for the trans because we started. I mean, I think we had a .062 jet, if I'm not mistaken. Could be wrong. I think it was a .062 on it, and truck runs hard. We had about a 240 milligrams worth of fuel in it. We estimate probably somewhere around the 750-ish range is where we were hanging out on that thing. And we had it had a sin tune in it, like a real OG sin tune in it. But steel pistons are tough, so it took it. We actually, we didn't when we got there. The engineers were able to take and get the ECU, TCM, everything all in sync and get it happy. And we were going over data logs and like seeing the rail pressure drop around 3,000, 3,100 RPMs. And we didn't want to pull fuel out of it. So it's like, let's lower the shift point. I'd rather just lower the shift point on this thing and maintain full power. I don't want to turn it down. It's happy. And every pass, the data looked better. So that transmission was learning, but it took some transmission tuning though. So that's what I learned on the ZF is that like this thing's a beast, but if you put a bunch of power on it and you don't have a good transmission tune in it, don't blame the transmission when it breaks. This thing's tunable to be this thing's able to be stout with good tuning. But yeah, and like our shaft speeds, we were still like within the what I call the not too bad of a limit on turbo shaft speeds, and that was full spraying it. But again, we weren't slinging a ton of RPMs and vane position hanging out at 0%, just trying to wastegate itself. And surprisingly enough, it really fast.
Well,
That was cool.
it was really cool to see Ram, the company itself,
Dude.
do this with this truck because I haven't seen that before. Kind of reminded me of the old days of like the NASCAR stuff and like
Yeah.
how you take these off the lot cars or trucks or vehicles and the OEMs are involved in, hey, let's show what this platform can do.
Yeah, dude. And like the powertrain on that truck, besides adding some nitrous and tuning, it was stock. But like Dave's crew over there, they're good, man. They knock some stuff out fast. Like that it's lightened up big time. It's got a nice setup on it. Like that truck has the potential to go pretty quick. I don't know what the weight is on it. I mean, but I don't think it's quite as heavy as it looks. Like that thing's really, really it's race truck stripped. But that they knocked that out in like a few weeks. It
Wow.
was super, super fast. The fabricator over there, man, he knows his stuff. That dude was out there on his back doing full setup and everything. We'd make one suggestion. He's like, "Well, what if we do da 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 da?" I say, "Oh, that's actually even better idea." Dave's got some talent over there.
The ZF transmission, I wanted to chat with you a bit about that because that's been a huge kind of besides all the news and the policy and the politics and the EPA and the tuning stuff, I think one of the biggest stories this year for me, because I'm a Ram fan or Cummins fan, was we always had transmissions that kind of sucked. Now they could be built in the aftermarket, but they were always like third place. They were behind the Ford and they were behind the Alice and stuff.
Yeah.
Is this? I mean, is it, in your opinion, and what you know, is it stronger than the 10-speed stuff? Does it have a lot of potential?
Um, it's faster. It's definitely faster than the 10. Like out of the big rig, not sorry, out of the light duty 10-speed stuff. Yeah, it is. Or not like the gassers, but as far as like your 10L, 10R, oh yeah. It's way faster shifts than that. Rams got a good package together on this thing. Like I'm planning on my next truck to be a 25. Hopefully we can tune them by then. I don't have any special information coming down the pipeline of nothing. I'm as locked out of it as the next guy. I've looked at some of the files and stuff like that, and it's a bit different, but man, it's an air pump with a EFI injection system on it. You know, it's it's going to do its thing. The motor's beefed up, to my understanding. The head definitely. I don't remember if it's the head. I think they got a new head on it. I'm gonna butcher this, but I think it was a new head and possibly exhaust manifold. I can't remember, but what all they did to the upgrades, like man, we that thing flows some air. It was definitely an upgrade, like from what they had before. When you drive this truck, you really like it. Like to me, the 25 Ram stock is the best driving truck out there. And you asked about Ram earlier, and those guys are guys and girls. They're awesome. That whole team that we dealt with over there were just straight up like, we don't care. Let's get it done. Go fast. And they were willing to. The OEM went way further than I thought an OEM would go to show the world that like this can be done. Like for PPEI and a SNCO sticker to be on that on a Ram truck, like OEM, that sends a message.
Yeah,
we're not. Dave's I'm not a bad dude. Dave's not a bad dude, and they made us all out. And how much did Ram Cummins have to pay, and what consent decrees are they dealing with? So for me personally, to see that truck out there, have the sticker, and then those people trust us, I guess who someone called the bad guys, like that was super cool. And the truck went fast.
Do you think that I guess I've never seen it at the OEM level and showcasing like what their platform, what their truck can do. To me, it was always cars, or sometimes like there was the Lightning and the SRT10, the Hemi truck. There were those things, but never with a diesel. Like, did that catch you by surprise to see that they were interested in that?
Oh yeah, and then like when they said it was a dually, I was like, "What? We're doing what? What?" And so, yeah, that was. I mean, everybody was in a position that no one's been in a position for, right? Because like normally these corporations don't work together like that. Like the Cummins guy is not really out there with the Ram guy, and the ZDIF guy is out there. Like there's normally a massive corporate structure to make these things happen. And we were all having as much fun as the next guy because these guys don't really get to play, right? Talented, very high knowledge calibrators, but they've never really gotten to play. So to come out there and see how much fun those guys were having, and to see how they were all the engineers from there, everybody was interacting with each other. And then especially like me, the outcast aftermarket guy that you would think they wouldn't like, it was the coolest thing ever. And it really just kind of, I guess you could say, just humanized the brand to me, all the brands to me. I got to meet, Tim over Ram. That was like, everybody's just people. And at the end of the day, I personally think that people just want to get things done, less corporate structure, and just have some fun. And I think Ram really displayed that well at Roadkill Nights. Like I can't give them enough props. I never in a million years would have said that would have happened. Not in a million years. And neither did any of the engineers or Dave that was out there. So like we were really having a blast. It was a really good time.
That was really cool. I was surprised to see it, and it got me excited to see them, because that's what like we've talked about for years. And like with the podcast, we focus on the aftermarket, and that's a heavy focus of it. So I mean, that's like almost 10 years we've been talking about that. But to see the OEMs, which are kind of on the other side of the spectrum, say, hey, we want to go fast and we want to do some cool things and showcase what our new truck can do. I was like, okay, now we're talking. Now we're having some fun.
Yeah. It was really, really, really cool. And it really sends a message too. So I loved it. It was really, really, really cool. The Ram thing, definitely. I mean, that was a big deal to me. It's hanging up on the wall at my house. Like that truck's a little special, and I don't think we're done seeing it either. It'll probably make an appearance here soon.
I wanted to ask you about the power sports stuff. I am not very familiar with it. I haven't really dabbled in that world at all, but I follow you on social media, so I've seen for years like you race. I see you talk about different platforms, different parts, traveling you had done racing, and then the electronic side of it. And I know that kind of there's certain hobbies that go hand in hand with diesel trucks. Like
Yeah.
diesel trucks, there's power sports, there's other things. And so somebody's probably listening and they're like, okay, cool, I'm gonna, yeah, my truck's doing good for right now, it's still under warranty, but hey, I like to have fun
Yeah.
with
We get a
this
lot
other
of
stuff.
that.
Yeah.
We get a lot of that. The power sports stuff's fun, man. If you've never hopped on like a turbo razor, turbo Can-Am, or especially something with some boost, even the NA, 100 horse NA stuff is nasty now. But you get on something with some boost, stock these cores they're ridiculous, but there's a lot of headroom, to play with them. And yeah, a lot of folks don't know, but I race these things professionally since like 2015, and I've been racing off road stuff my whole life. Like it's just personal, love it, hobby type thing, mostly foolers. Then when side by sides came out, I got into that. But I went like whenever the government stuff happened, and I knew I couldn't like do any diesel racing. I was like, all right, I'm gonna just go all in on UTVs, give it hell. And we did. Like super cool, man. We really, really accomplished a lot in the professional racing series. I was racing with Travis Pastrana and like the blocks. What the heck am I doing here? We were racing in Vegas on the F1 track, and I'd look up and it's like, this is surreal. I like burn those images in my mind. It's very humbling to think I got to do something like that. But yeah, we tune all of them, and obviously the ones with the booster where all the fun's at. But we tune all of them, and now that these things are starting to come out, like the Can-Am Maverick R, we're doing tons of R&D on it right now, and I've got a lot of experience with that because I raced those in Nitrocross and Ram 1 at Hammers. So like I know all the things that I would have changed up. These cars starting to come with transmissions, like a DCT in racing atmospheres, and and aggressive drivers, like a lot of the people that own diesel trucks probably drive. It doesn't exactly drive in a way that it could, that makes it way more fun, and in my opinion, way more safe. So yeah, we've Polaris, and we've got KRX, and the Can-Ams and the Hondas. We do a lot with Honda, man. We tune cars with the factory Honda race team. The factory team took and like have us a deal with all the factory engineers with signed to my calibrator at the office in PPEI. We do we're known in the diesel world. We're doing some really bad stuff in the power sports world, which is great because it's made up for a lot of that income that I've lost from not being able to sell tuning. So to be able to take and make that up in a whole different world that I actually enjoy and love, kind of a little blessing in disguise in that aspect.
If they want to learn more about that, or they're into the power sports stuff, is that under the PPI? It's under the PPI umbrella. Like if you go to the website, like you can find all that stuff there.
Yes. Yeah, you can find it all. I think it's under gas or power sports tab. But we've got it all on there. But the thing is, too, is if we don't have something that you have, just shoot us an email, hit us up, because like we've got multiple KRXs out there with turbos running, making power, built motor stuff. But until we actually go ham under our umbrella, testing the dog crap out of everything, then like you've got a really good box tune is an honest way to put it. And that box tune, you'll install it and you'll think it's the best thing ever. And then we're going to get it under the knife, go absolutely ham, and we'll release it to the public. And it really doesn't feel any different than the box tune, but on the backside, it's really, 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 really cleaned up. So we've got a lot of that going on with like the KRX right now. We just did that, not to bore any diesel listeners, but like whenever we've got some out there running boosted and everything, but getting one under the knife, I posted the video and showed the data. Like the two cylinders are way off. This cylinder was super rich. This cylinder was super lean. Well, after we got done tuning it, horsepower didn't necessarily change, but it drives better, it runs better. And those curves from one cylinder being down here and one being up here, now we've got them right there, keeping the whole engine in much better harmony. We don't want one cylinder making 10, 15% more power than the other one. Everything just smoothens up when it's like that. So it's like on our new tuning I can't release right now, like all of the new Duramax and Power Stroke tuning, like I've got it done, but I haven't like actually taken the time and really going under the knife super, super heavy with it, just because we've had all this craziness going on. But if I was able to send it or release it today, like people install it and say, oh, this is freaking sweet, but I kind of pride in PPEI generally going to a different level of R&D, and that's why when we release stuff, generally it just freaking works, and that's what we're known for.
As you look forward, to the end of this year, beginning of next year, is that the next big thing, is being able to jump back into the diesel side with the new things and new platforms, and being able to do that?
Yeah, it's a super big deal. I mean, I'm the diesel guy at the shop. You've got, like, calibration wise at the office, you've got me, Paul, and Shane, and then the other guys can make some smaller adjustments. But at the end of the day, I'm lead engineer on this thing, and so I personally love diesels, but I really like making them go super fast with big donkey turbos and fuel systems, right? And seeing how many RPMs we can spin out of them. So I'll be really excited whenever, honestly, I can participate in racing and stuff like that again. But if I could just, I'm as equally excited to release like our Hellcat tuning and our like new EcoBoost tuning, the 5.0 stuff. Like if we could take and allow us to play in those markets, I'm as excited about that stuff because I know how good it is, how good it runs, as I am being able to do all the diesel stuff. The biggest thing is just being able to get off the chains to be able to make the decision of what I want to do instead of being told you can't do anything. Because the situation I'm in right now, like I'm held up at carbon. I'm not going to spend another $100,000 on all these new approvals whenever they've held me up on these for 5 years for what seems to be a very strange reason.
Yeah.
Until that's fixed, it's like, But I can honestly say if we would have went to court this month, I would be selling stuff right now. So the shutdown and whatnot's got us in that situation, but I'm hoping either, the government can act as quickly and do the things I've been told supposed to get done. So that way we get this problem freaking resolved. But if not, we'll let the legal system handle its way out, and then we can get to market. So, we're more than capable of doing our own testing at the office. I've never tested at the office and failed at SEMA Garage. I have passed first time every single time. So if there was any effort to prove good faith, I don't know how much better you can do it than being put to the test and pass and everything. So, I'd like to be able to save, $10,000, whatever it takes for me to go said and done at SEMA Garage, and that's to go all the way to California. But I would do that if I had to be able to get on the market. That's not a big deal. But I'm not dealing with this carb nonsense anymore, dude. These people are lunatics. They'll probably see this, and it is what it is. Y'all are lunatics. I ain't dealing with more. I'm gonna try to fix this thing.
I think it helps us understand too, like what to expect, what to look out for, and it'll be really cool to see. It's been cool to see like your evolution from way, way, way back when. I don't remember when I first met you, like 2013 or so, or maybe 14.
A long time ago.
And through this whole process that we've talked about on the podcast, but like especially now with, it feels like there's movement. It feels like maybe there's a direction that's going to take place. So it was really cool to connect with you today, Kory. I know you're a busy guy and stuff, and I loved hearing directly from you what's been going on and some really cool things that you guys are working on. And also, I value your input on trucks. Like 2025 Ram has been like, people ask me that all the time, do episodes on it.
Legit.
And you're like one of the first people I think about because as a tuner, you're dealing with the transmission, you're dealing with the turbo, you're dealing with the, like you would be familiar with all that. So your opinion on that truck is extremely valued. So definitely let me know when there's like some movement and some things happen. I'd love to have you back on to talk about it.
I'll keep you posted on and hopefully next time we talk I'll have a bunch of new stuff to talk about.
Awesome. Well, it was cool chat with you today, Kory. Thanks again.
For sure. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Don't forget, Diesel fans, make sure and head on over to Kershaw.kaiusa.com. Use code 20, TDP 2026 to get 20% off your cart. It's a great way to save some money, get some cool gear if you're in the market for a new EDC knife, something for hunting, fishing, around the job site, around the house. They got you covered with a bunch of different choices for blade steel, different opening mechanisms, different handle designs, and their whole lineup's designed to meet any budget that you might have. So if you're in the market, Head on over to their website, use code 20TDP2026, and get 20% off your order. Also want to give a shout out to some of our Patreon supporters, Tyler Lowen at 23 Diesel, Cutter Up Rob, Robert, all of our other Patreon supporters, all of you who subscribe on YouTube and podcast apps, follow us on social media. We appreciate all your support here in year 9 of the Diesel Podcast, and look forward to bringing you more of the content that you want to hear in 2025. Till next time, keep the shiny side up.